A woman goes on a cruise with her family to never be seen again. What could have happened to 23-year-old Amy Lynn Bradley? Let's discuss on today's Peculiar Occurrences. Amy Lynn Bradley of Virginia, born May 12, 1976, an avid basketball player who had just graduated with a physical education degree. She had also just bought a brand new puppy and was excited about her future at a brand new job. Before Amy's new life began, her family and her decided to take a trip together as a family and take a cruise through the Caribbean. They traveled on a Royal Caribbean cruise line ship called Rhapsody of the Sea. 3 of the waiters were quite friendly with Amy right away, all while they were still docked in Aruba. One of them even asked Amy's father, Mr. Bradley, of Amy's whereabouts by name. And when he asked why he wanted to know, the waiter told him that they, assuming that he meant the waitstaff, wanted to take her to Carlos and Charlie's, the very same bar that Natalie Holloway had disappeared from in 2005. Amy ended up telling her father that the waiters gave her the creeps and she didn't want anything to do with them. On March 23, 1998, Amy's parents, Ron and Ivy Bradley, and her brother Brad were enjoying their 3rd day on the ship. The family all attended a dinner party on the upper decks of the ship, and then both Amy and her brother Brad had went down to a disco. They ended up dancing until the early morning hours, and Amy was seen dancing with a member of the ship's band, Blue Orchid, a man named Alistair Douglas, but he was known by going by the name Yellow. They were even videotaped repeatedly dancing together by a videographer who was there to make a promotional piece for the cruise liner. However, Amy and her brother Brad had both left the disco and entered their estate room by 3:30 to 4 a.m. Amy's father, Ron Bradley, would account that at about 5 a.m. he had woke up and seen Amy sitting out on the estate room's balcony. When he woke up again at 6 a.m., she was gone. The only thing missing was Amy's cigarettes and her lighter. She didn't even take shoes with her, so it seemed like she did not intend to stay gone that long. I would also like to note that she had brought 9 pairs of shoes on this trip and did not take a single pair with her or anything else of importance. After Amy had left the room, there was witness accounts that she was seen near the disco once again with Douglas, Yellow, on the ship, and that he was seen handing her some sort of dark drink. It is assumed that it may have been coffee, though other witnesses say that he had left the area by himself, though Amy was never seen again. After the Bradleys determined that Amy was missing, they had begged the ship's captain to keep the ship away from the dock, to bring it back out and not allow anyone else to leave, and to help them search for Amy. But the only thing that was really done was a call over the loudspeaker for Amy to report into the ship, but there was no search done of the ship at this time. By the time a search of the ship started at approximately 8 a.m., most of the staff and passengers had already left the ship for the day. And the family was told that no announcement about Amy's disappearance would be made and no pictures could be put up around the ship concerning her, that this would be disconcerting to other passengers. The Bradleys left the ship in Curacao and flew to St. Martin and reboarded the cruise ship when the FBI informed them that the search had only included bathrooms and common areas and had excluded staterooms and employee living areas. The FBI did eventually board the ship, but their investigation went nowhere. The ship had ended up claiming that Amy probably got intoxicated and fell overboard, though there was absolutely no clues to indicate this. The waters of the area was dragged and nothing was found. The man that Amy had spent the evening with, Yellow, was eventually cleared by the police after a polygraph test. Yet this was before the FBI had gotten a hold of the disco video. The FBI conducted a thorough investigation, questioning friends, family, people back home. Even her family had to take a polygraph test, which they all passed. They even ended up interviewing her coach from school, all of which were exonerated. And after finding out everything Amy had been up to, buying the puppy, finishing school, was about to start a new job, and just getting an overall profile of her, they determined that this was not the kind of person who would have been planning on running off or committing suicide, and they deemed that she must have been taken involuntarily. Since her disappearance in 1998, there have been several sightings of Amy. One of the most disturbing being a email sent to them in 2005 to the Bradleys' website, which contained 2 pictures of a female. These photographs were observed by a member of an organization that attempts to track potential victims of human trafficking, and on sites that feature prostitutes. Photos featured a scantily clad dressed female who seemed distraught and despondent. One of these photos was actually shown on the Dr. Phil show in 2005, November 2005, when the Bradley family appeared on the Dr. Phil show. Another disturbing sighting comes from January of 1999, when a Navy petty officer claimed that he had encountered Amy at a hotel brothel in Puerto. And recognizing him as an American soldier, she went to him, told him her name, and told him that she was being held there against her will. Unfortunately, the officer kept this information to himself, afraid of the repercussions of what would happen to him for solicitation of prostitution. And he only contacted the Bradleys through their website after his retirement. Unfortunately, by this time, the brothel had burnt down under mysterious circumstances. In August of 1998, a Canadian encountered 2 men and a woman walking on the beach near Port of Maria in Puerto. When he spoke kind of loudly in an American or English accent to a friend who was a few feet away, the woman suddenly turned around and began to walk their way. Just as the woman was about to speak to him, one of the men obviously signaled for her to walk away, and then both men grabbed her and forced her into a coffee shop. On the way, she seemed like she was trying to point out her very distinctive tattoos, and while in the coffee shop, she kept staring out the window at the Canadian. At the time, the Canadian man had absolutely no clue who Amy was until he happened to see her on an episode of Unsolved Mysteries. This is when he contacted the Bradleys and was able to describe her tattoos perfectly because he had seen them from only a few feet away. He said he was 100% sure the person that he had saw was Amy. And probably what is one of the most messed up parts of the investigation and the sightings of Amy happened in the fall of 1999 when an individual contacted the Bradleys and claimed to have been an ex-member of American Special Forces. He claimed that Amy was being held by Colombian gangsters and that they were holding her on an island of Puerto. And he also claimed to want to help them get Amy back. The man's name was Frank Jones, and he also claimed to have a witness, a cook, who could testify that indeed she had seen Amy. And the cook ended up describing Amy's tattoos perfectly, and even a lullaby that she claimed that she heard Amy singing, one that was actually taught to her by Mrs. Bradley. Supposedly, 2 other former Navy SEALs were sent to Puerto to specifically determine Amy's location. This is when Mr. Jones started to demand more money. So the family ended up getting a bit suspicious and said they wanted concrete evidence of Amy and that she was alive. So they were presented with a picture of a girl who looked a lot like Amy with very similar tattoos. So they ended up going ahead and paying him more money. They ended up totaling into $210,000. The Bradleys were then instructed to fly to Florida and wait for a call from Jones. As soon as Amy was recovered, he was supposed to call them. Well, the Bradleys flew there and they stayed in a motel for a week. After about a week, they ended up getting a call from one of Jones' associates, another person who had been duped by Jones. It was come to find out the whole thing was an entire scam. Jones had never been part of the Special Forces. The cook was a fake. The picture was a fake. And just the entire story was a fake. Eventually, though, Jones was caught up with, and he was charged with mail fraud. Yeah, just mail fraud. And he ended up having to pay restitution and spent 5 years in jail. I honestly think he should have got so much more time than that for like the personal injury or something to the family and just the scamming them like fraud or something. I don't know. I just think he should have got more time because that is so messed up. Then in 2005, a woman named Judy Marr was in Kingstown, Barbados in a bathroom stall when she heard 2 men come in and they were yelling at a woman, and then they walked out. She heard the woman weeping outside in the sink area. Marr waited a few minutes, made sure the guys were gone, and then she walked out to find a woman hunched over the sink area, very upset. The woman allegedly told Judy Marr that her name was Amy and she was from Virginia, and that's when the 2 men busted back in and led her out of the bathroom. Judy Marr provided the FBI with a description of the 2 men and of Amy from Virginia, which ended up aligning and sounding a lot like the 2 pictures that were sent to the family of the scantily clad woman that was found on prostitution websites and featured on Dr. Phil in 2005. In late 2010, probably as a result of Hurricane Thomas, a human jawbone had washed up on the shores of Aruba, and the jawbone was taken and tested to see if it belonged to Natalie Holloway, another woman who had disappeared in very similar circumstances around the same time. Once local authorities determined that the jawbone was not connected to the Natalie Holloway case, they ceased any further testing, despite the fact that Amy Lynn Bradley and up to as many as 9 other people had disappeared while vacationing there within 15 years prior to the Natalie Holloway case. Because dental records were able to rule out any connection to Natalie Holloway, no further DNA testing was done on this jawbone, though what was done was able to determine that it was from a Caucasian female. A $250,000 reward is currently being offered on the Bradleys' website for the return of Amy Lynn Bradley. As well, the FBI is also offering $25,000 reward for any information that would lead to the recovery of Amy Bradley. Amy Lynn Bradley is a Caucasian female with brown hair and green eyes. Bradley may dye her hair blonde. Her ears are also pierced multiple times, and her navel is pierced. She also has the following tattoos: a baby Tasmanian devil on the back of her left shoulder with a green and blue gecko lizard around her navel, a Japanese symbol on her right ankle, and a primitive Japanese sun tattoo on her lower back. Bradley is also a cigarette smoker. If you or anyone you know thinks that you have any information on Amy Lynn Bradley, I will put the information for who you can contact in the description box below. So what do you think about this peculiar occurrence? This kind of case right here, to me, is one of the most scariest ones because, I mean, human trafficking, these women end up tortured and just used as slaves for years and years and years until they're eventually killed. And from what I've seen from documentaries, there's also ways that the traffickers will end up implementing them into crimes and making them commit crimes in order to keep a hold of them. It's a very scary thought. I've never heard of the Amy Lynn Bradley case. I had heard of the Natalie Holloway case. That was such a famous case, but this one reminded me so much of it, and this poor girl has just never been found. This one really gets to me. But I want to know what you think about this peculiar occurrence down below. And while you're down there, don't forget to check out my description box for your peculiar occurrence merch. We got some really great stuff. Also, throw a like on this video and share it out to all of your friends. Help me get this out to people. And as well, if you're new here, become part of my peculiar squad and hit that subscribe button along with that little bell. I'd love to have you with us. And until next time, keep your eyes peeled for all things peculiar. Do 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 do. Yeah. Follow me on Facebook, Twitter, MeWe, just all of them. I'm on all of them, and I'll see you next time. Peace.
Are you listening? Damn.